spend money on that particular thing, except for rare instances, like if there's some new technological gain that creates efficiencies, then there might be a loophole there, but very, very limited. As part of Project 2025 and something that Jeff Stein has been telling us about, and we've been reporting on here, and it's also part of the plan with Doge, they want to challenge that and basically be able to say that Congress's appropriations are just basically a suggestion. And then the executive branch gets to be like, we like that, we don't like that, and have, I mean, this would almost be rendering Congress completely irrelevant effectively and making it so that the executive branch really has near monarchical powers to do everything that they want. So that was revealed in terms of these internal documents, which many people have been speculating about, but sort of confirmed by Huffington Post. Last thing I'll say, and I'll get your reaction to this, Sagar, is Lever News had a good report about just looking at, okay, well, how might the Supreme Court rule on such a question? This is a very conservative Supreme Court. A number of these individuals were put on the bench by Donald Trump. So, there's certainly a possibility that even though this has never been the understanding, and it's pretty clear in the Constitution, power of the purse with Congress, et cetera, there is certainly a possibility that they would side with the Trump White House on this. But let's put B7 up on the screen. This could end up being relevant. Apparently, John Roberts weighed in back in a 1985 communique, weighed in on a question. This is classic David Stern to be able to find this, by the way. Weighed in on this very question with regard to whether the executive branch can just, say, no, we don't want to do that. Sorry, Congress, we're not following the law that you passed. He said that no area seems more clearly the province of Congress than the power of the purse, and discouraged going in the direction of questioning that whatsoever. So that could potentially become relevant. I think it's almost certain that this will end up at some point at the Supreme Court.
Not only that, Justice Gorsuch is a much more libertarian, much more skeptical of executive power, and Justice Barrett also. So there's big ideological divides. I'd be curious to see, okay, Kavanaugh is usually more of a state power guy, executive branch.
They definitely have Thomas.
Thomas Alito, Kavanaugh likely to go on the side of the Trump administration. But yeah, you could conceivably see a 6-3 on something like this. Yeah, I'd be curious to see how it breaks down. I asked around and they told me the same thing. They're like, Kavanaugh, or they said Gorsuch, Coney Barrett are both big question marks. A lot of it, remember, comes back to implementation as well. This chaos does not help your case because that's something that they've written about often in Supreme Court opinions, is that you have to follow the letter of the law, the process. That's what specifically came back to screw them on the census back in 2018 when Justice Roberts ruled against the Trump administration. So he's got a long history of not buying some of this stuff, going all the way back to Obamacare and others, like novel conservative legal theories. So they really could have issues before the court with this one. It's all about testing the limits of power. This was very basically laid out by a lot of people incoming in the Trump administration. They want to be able to do as much as they possibly can. And they're trying to get it done early to figure out what they actually can do going forward.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's right. And I will say, Democrats have been utterly pathetic in responding to Trump this time. It's been really pathetic and disappointing, et cetera. But it is also true that it is easier to dismantle, cut, and destroy than it is to build new programs. So, that's what they're with the buyouts that we mentioned, which aren't really trying to get that semantic difference aside, but they're trying to cut some 10% kind of randomly broad swath of the federal government. All of those attempts they've talked about, they want to demoralize the entire federal workforce. They want to use these sorts of truly unprecedented, extraordinary powers to just, take a hatchet to all sorts of things within the federal government. So, the wrecking ball has arrived, and they're doing everything that they possibly can with it.
Yep. All right, we will. Let's get to Jeremy Corbell. Joining us now is my friend Jeremy Corbell to react to some of the news around the New Jersey drones. It's great to see you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Good to see you.
Excellent. Jeremy, we want your reaction here to the White House coming out with a statement on the New Jersey drone phenomenon. Let's take a listen, and we're going to get your reaction.
And before I turn to questions, I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office from President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyist, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy.
A lot going on there, Jeremy. So in your expert opinion, what do you make of this?
Yeah, the explanation is fundamentally nonsensical. I think we now have hope for a new era of transparency. Look, for me, on the UAC topic, but also on a bunch of topics, we're not seeing it in that statement. Let me just give you a little breakdown here. The FAA would not approve research flights without communication with facility heads and same with military bases. did the FAA authorize the ones that buzzed Langley 17 nights in a row? Did they authorize the untrackable drones that infiltrated 3 US and UK air bases? And that was going on for weeks. Did the FAA authorize flight restrictions if they had originally authorized these drones? It's absolutely nonsensical. And I'll tell you, I get reports from people that are actually guarding these critical infrastructure sites. What they're seeing through their FLIR, through their thermal, it's not just traditional drones. And so this is an issue of transparency. We have high hopes. We're not getting it. Remember, these drones were not affected by anti-drone technology. So these just weren't approved tests. It's just a blatant, flat-out lie.
Yeah, I mean, research and various other reasons. Like, listen, I'm a skeptic personally, so I would be open to explanations like research, and here's exactly what's going on, and here's why it's confusing to people, and here's why the drone detection technology didn't work, and why the flight space wasn't authorized, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think anyone, skeptic, not skeptic, whatever your thoughts are about the situation, is going to be satisfied with research and various other reasons.
And again, this is not necessarily something that we have to be, skeptical about where they come from. This is just a matter of fact that we have unidentified craft that are loitering over sensitive military, nuclear installations, and also power stations. So this is something that we should address, face on, and we should be honest about it. It's just that the answer they came up with is absolutely nonsensical, and that's the problem.
Especially when you consider all of the authorities involved, the military bases, and that's what I want to talk to you about here, Jeremy. Can you put this answer in the context of all of these other USP incidents that we have seen over military bases, and then the subsequent explanation somewhat month and a half later that they, it was research, it was authorized. So this fit the matters for the U.S. government?
Yeah, it does. And this is something back in 2019 when we had 10 Navy warships over 100-mile radius swarmed by over 100 unidentifieds. And that's where George Knapp and I provided so many different types of footage showing that this is an issue. Everybody on the ships we've spoken with that we've brought forward. This is something where you have these incursions. And this has been going on for a long time. You know your history, you guys. The shutdown of nuclear base, shutdowns of airports. We're not getting truthful answers. And that's what we were all hoping for. Again, this answer is just so nonsensical. It's almost comical if it wasn't a serious issue.
Right.
What are some of the ongoing transparency issues that you're hoping are going to be resolved ultimately under this administration, Jeremy?
Well, you know that I'm obsessed with the UFO and UAP issues, so I'd like that to be resolved. We try to do that in Congress.
Be resolved.
I think the American public deserves, or not even deserves, it is our right to have transparency within government. And we're just seeing, I hope we're not, but it appears we're just seeing the kind of same status quo. As things unfold, a lot of promises are made. Remember back in the day, the Clintons tried to get this information out. John Podesta tried to get this information out. Ground truth on what UAP UFOs are, what they represent to humanity. And it's just, we're not seeing that right now. That's it.
Jeremy, could you also give us your reaction? This is some more whistleblowers and others that have come out, government psionics and others. I'm just curious for your take on the matter and how that fits in the broader scheme of whistleblowers coming forward, trying to give information to Congress and to the government. And at the very same time, we have the White House here with a traditional, obviously BS explanation about the New Jersey drones.
Right, and so that's what we're seeing. What we're seeing is we're not going to get the answers through the traditional means we were hoping. Unfortunately, through the Senate, through the House, just through the White House in general, we're not going to get those answers. So how are we? It's going to be on journalism, and that's okay. That's what we're all doing, is trying to get to the bottom and core truth on all of it. So I'm very hopeful for journalism right now. A lot of people are throwing down, or a lot of people are getting involved with this issue. So we have to do good journalism no matter what the White House does.
Absolutely. So we'll end it there, Jeremy. Thank you so much. And listen, Jeremy, me, us, we tried to warn you. We could do it the easy way, but catastrophic is the way that you guys want to go. So be it, right? We
see that.
Yeah, we've tried to give them the option of coming forward, of disclosure. They are leaving it to the whistleblowers and the eyewitnesses and others to have to come forward and enforce it. And if that's the way they want to play it, fine. We can continue to fight. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very fortunate to be joined this morning by Peter Beinart. He is editor-at-large of Jewish Currents. He is author of Beinart Notebook on Substack and also author of a brand new book that we can put up on the screen, Being Jewish After the Destruction of Gaza, a Reckoning. Great to see you, Peter.
Thanks a lot.
So my typical first question is what prompted the writing of the book, but I think that much is pretty obvious. But maybe to start off by talking a little bit about what this period has been like, the post-October 7th period has been like specifically for you and for your relationship with the Jewish community.
So one of the central metaphors in Jewish tradition is a family, kind of imagined extended family, leading from to describe all of us. You know, Israel is the name that was given to Jacob after he wrestled with Eve in Genesis. And so there's something there, and there's also a family that has, imagine family that's been through a lot of trauma, and then experienced another tremendous level of trauma on October 7th, which was really, say, for many of us, one of the worst days of our lives. It's very, in those moments, what families want is solidarity and support. But the tragedy to me is the way in which the organized American Jewish community, where the government asks for that solidarity, is unconditional support for the brutal oppression of Palestinians and now the destruction of Gaza. So for me, I think that the motions that led me to write this book were this struggle to show that I do feel a sense of solidarity and love for people that, and a tradition that is at the center of my life, and yet something has gone profoundly wrong when we take that tradition and that sense of obligation to one another, and it becomes an excuse for doing just the most horrifying things to another group of people.
So you talk about how, as a Jewish community, needs a news story. Talk a little bit about what the current story is and what are the problems with that current story, and what a new story that may better serve not just the Jewish community, but the world at large, what that might look like.
I think Jewish public discourse tends to be dominated by a narrative of Jews as kind of history's permanent virtuous victims. The truth is, the Jewish sacred texts actually tell a much more complicated story.